It's another Raw video from your favorite YouTube scout, Draft Raw Authentic. Yes, I am finally here making another video. And like I said, it's a Raw one, so there will be no edits. Now, I know I'm going to be late with this. I was very busy last week. So this video will be about the Week 5 and Week 6 rookie standouts. So it will be a long video. Hopefully it's not too long. Hopefully y'all don't get bored. But because I wrote down the Week 5 rookie standouts, I said I'm going to do them. So today I will be doing Week 5 and Week 6. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. With the Thursday night game, Week 5 first. With the Thursday night game, you had Indianapolis versus New England. And Indianapolis had a really good rookie standout in Nyheim Hines, who had 15 rushes for 45 yards and 7 catches for 45 yards. So a combined total of 90 yards with 22, what do you use the word? Touches. 22 touches. He had a pretty good night, but didn't score a touchdown. But on the other side of the ball, Sony Michel had 18 carries, 98 yards, and a touchdown. And also had 1 reception for 12 yards. So he had over 100 scrimmage yards, and he did have a touchdown. Now, in the Tennessee-Buffalo game, we had Rashad Evans from Tennessee that had 6 tackles. Pretty good, pretty good for him. But for Buffalo, you had Teron Johnson with 4 tackles, 1 interception, 1 pass deflection. And Tremaine Edmonds, always see his name for Buffalo, 8 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 1 pass deflection. In the next game, the New York Giants versus the Carolina Panthers, Saquon Barkley, 15 rushes, 48 yards, no touchdowns, but he had 4 catches, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he actually scored catching the ball. And on the other side, DJ Moore finally had somewhat of a good game. 1 rush for 18 yards and 4 catches for 49 yards. And Dante Jackson, their other rookie second-round pick, had 6 tackles. In the Miami versus Cincinnati game, Miami players Jerome Baker, who had 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and Minka Fitzpatrick, who had 5 tackles and 1 tackle for loss. Then Sam Hubbard for Cincinnati had 3 tackles, 1 fumble recovery that he scored with a touchdown, and Jesse Bates with another 5 tackles and an interception. Then we had Baltimore versus Cleveland. Kenny Young with 2 tackles and a half a sack. Since C.J. Mosley came back, Kenny Young hasn't been starting, so his stats are going to start dwindling down a little bit. But Baker Mayfield on the other side had 342 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. D. Willis, wide receiver, had 3 catches for 61 yards. One of his catches helped set up their game-winning field goal in overtime. And Denzel Ward, who, I was a little worried about coming out in the draft. He looked really, really good, and actually he's a better player than what I thought he would be. But he had 5 tackles, 1 interception, great interception, and he had a blocked field goal. That helped this team actually beat the Baltimore Ravens. Then you had Green Bay versus Detroit. Equanimeous St. Brown had 3 catches for 89 yards. And the other rookie wide receiver, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, had 7 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown. And Kerryon Johnson, 12 rushes, 70 yards. He didn't have a touchdown, though. And Deshaun Hand had a forced fumble, had a fumble recovery with 4 tackles. So that's pretty good. In the next game with some rookie standouts, because Jacksonville and KC really didn't have a big rookie standout. Denver Broncos, Cortland Sutton had 2 catches, 18 yards, but he had a touchdown, trying to help his team win. And then Perry Nickerson for New York Jets had 6 tackles. Then Atlanta versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh safety Terrell Edmonds had 7 tackles. In the Oakland versus the LA Chargers, Derwin James had 5 tackles. In the Minnesota-Philly game, Minnesota's cornerback, Mike Hughes, had 5 tackles, and I just learned that this past week he's going to be put on IR for ACL tear. Hope for a good full recovery. And then Arizona versus San Fran, Christian Kirk, 3 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Really good game for Christian Kirk. The Rams and Seahawks didn't have a rookie standout, but then Dallas and Houston. I think that was a Sunday night game. Leighton Vander Esch, 13 total tackles. And then for Houston, Kiki Kuti had 6 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown. And Justin Reed had 1 interception and 6 tackles. Then we look at the Monday night game, Washington versus New Orleans. Deron Payne, 4 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. Then for New Orleans, Traquan Smith had 3 catches, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Marcus Davenport putting some stats on the board with 3 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and 1 pass deflection. So that was week 5. I just wanted to get through that. Now on to the week that y'all are going to be looking for this week, and that is week 6. And in the Philly New York Giants game, the Thursday night game, Philly, cornerback Anthony Maddox with 6 tackles, but Saquon Barkley for the New York Giants had a huge game. He had 13 rushes, 130 yards, and a touchdown, and he added on to 9 catches for 99 yards. He had over 200 yards for scrimmage with, 22 touches and over 200 yards for scrimmage. That is huge for Saquon Barkley, who has been, I would say, has been a better player than what I thought. And not say that I didn't think that he wouldn't be a good player. I just thought that if there was a chance for him to be a bust, if you want to see that video, it's in my video archives. You can check that out. But for a chance for him to be a bust, there was a reason why I wasn't the biggest fan of him. But he's been doing really, really well. Then we got Tampa Bay versus Atlanta. Jordan Whitehead had 6 tackles, and Ito Smith had 11 rushes, 22 yards, but he had that touchdown. And that's huge for Ito Smith. Pittsburgh versus Cincinnati, which was a really good game. Nobody from Pittsburgh had an outstanding game, but for Cincinnati, 2 rookies. Jesse Bates, once again, 9 tackles. And Darius Phillips, I almost forgot his name. Darius Phillips, 2 tackles and 1 forced fumble. Then we looking at the Chargers versus Cleveland. Derwin James, once again, 5 tackles, half a sack, still doing his thing, still putting up numbers. He is in the running to be Defensive Player of the Year alongside Denzel Ward and alongside Darius Leonard from Indianapolis. Then for Buffalo and Houston, Tremaine Edmonds, 9 tackles. Houston didn't have nobody standing out. For Chicago, Anthony Miller. Chicago versus Miami. Miami didn't have a standout, but Anthony Miller, he had 1 catch, 29 yards, but it went for a touchdown. So that's a huge play for him. And Roquan Smith with 13 tackles, being the guy that I think he's going to be as a linebacker. Then the Arizona versus Minnesota game. Josh Rosen, 21 of 31. So that means he only missed 10 passes for 240 yards. He did not throw a touchdown, and he had an interception, but it's still a pretty solid game for Josh Rosen to try to build on for him as a quarterback. And then Christian Kirk, 6 catches, 77 yards. He didn't have, like I said, there was no passing touchdowns thrown, so he didn't have a touchdown. Then you got Indianapolis versus the New York Jets. I just said his name, Darius Leonard, 8 tackles, 1 forced fumble. He's in the running to be a Defensive Player of the Year. And Sam Darnold for the New York Jets was 24 of 30. That means only 6 passes was not complete for 280 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he still had a pick. But I expect that from Sam Darnold. Then looking at Seattle versus Oakland, Arden Key, 4 tackles and a sack. Carolina versus Washington. Carolina's DJ Moore had 4 receptions, 59 yards, but he had 2 fumbles, and that is a problem. He needs to hold on to the ball. And in college, maybe he probably still runs the way he does in college. It's just that the guys don't hit as hard, or they don't go for the ball as much as NFL players does. But he needs to kind of hold on to that ball and get better at that. Because to have 1 fumble is bad, right? You know, you learn from it. But to have 2 fumbles in a game is even worse, because it just said, well, you didn't learn from your first mistake. So he needs to step it up. Then in the Los Angeles Rams versus the Denver Broncos, the Denver Broncos had 2 guys that did their thing. Cortland Sutton, 3 catches, 58 yards, didn't have a touchdown. But the big one was Bradley Chubb with 5 tackles and 3 sacks. I think I put, why in the world I put 5 sacks? He had 3 sacks in the game. Then going to Jacksonville versus Dallas, Leighton Vander Esch for Dallas had 10 tackles and 1 pass deflection. Then moving on to Baltimore versus Tennessee, Kenny Young, 3 tackles, like I said, The tackles are going to start diminishing because he's not in that starting role, but he did have a sack in the game, one of 11 sacks in that game. Rashad Evans had 7 tackles, pretty good game for Rashad, but it's one of those things where he was out on the field a lot, so those numbers get skewed where he's going to have a bunch of tackles. But he had 7 tackles. He wasn't missing tackles, and that's what I'll say. Then we have KC versus New England. New England, Sony Michel, 24 rushes, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns, helping out for that big win for New England. So that's good for him. He's building up to try to become Offensive Rookie of the Year, because if it's not one of these running backs, and let's say something happened to Saquon Barkley, God forbid, Sony Michel is that next in line. And last but not least, on the Monday night game, San Fran versus Green Bay, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 3 receptions, 103 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, but 100 yards on the game for him. And that is it for the Week 6 rookie standouts. By time Week 8 comes, I will be coming out with the half-year, or actually Week 9, not Week 8, Week 9, half-year awards. Not really awards, but kind of predicting, basically who basically is the front runners for the offensive defensive player of the year and offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year. So you'll get those videos up. Also, I will be coming out with that series. It is coming. I gotta do some writing on it and stuff like that, so I make sure I can get my facts straight and everything. So the series coming out, it will be Was I Wrong? And I will be talking about certain players. One player I just put out there, Derwin James. Was I wrong about Derwin James in terms of what I predicted about him, or basically what I thought he would be in the NFL? So you will be getting those type of videos that will be coming out. I have been really, really busy. I have a baby shower coming up. I got a lot of stuff going on at work. I got the school stuff, so bear with me. I'm trying to put out as much videos as I can. And sometimes it's hard to get out these videos when I'm tired, when there's so much going around, when I'm working overtime. So it is what it is. But once again, thank you for watching. This is Draft for Authentic. Please comment so we can debate. Please share this video. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't. And have a good day. Goodbye.